Hey everybody, welcome to the Invest Answers weekly Q&A. This is my favorite time of the week, so thank you very much for joining. And this is where I answer the top 5 questions that came in from subscribers, and I answer them real quick. So let's start at the very beginning. So the first question is from Tyler Lane. Tyler Lane asks, do you think this is a SuperCycle, and do you think we'll have a blow-off top? So I'm going to address more the whole SuperCycle thing. First of all, the demand that we are seeing right now is far surpassing the ability of miners to produce Bitcoin. And the demand for Bitcoin is rising exponentially. So I'm not sure we're entering a Bitcoin supercycle, but I am sure there's a few things that are very different this time around compared to the last bull cycle. So first of all, it's a very new paradigm. Second of all, the 4-year cycle theory may no longer apply due to massive institutional hodling. So huge institutions are buying Bitcoin and they're taking it off the exchanges. So that's another big thing that's different. And central banks are printing money like they've never printed before, which is something we've never really seen before. So on top of the 26% of all new US dollars that were printed last year, about 1.9 trillion are about to be printed in the first quarter of 2021, and probably another 2 to 4 trillion after that, I would estimate. So basically, we're going to be blowing up the money supply like never before. Probably more than 50% of all dollars will be created in sort of an 18-month period. And that's got to result in inflation, and that's very concerning. So the other thing as well, Bitcoin is now widely available for investors. 2 new ETFs out of Canada and tons of other derivative type products, on-ramps, Square, PayPal, tons of exchanges, tons of apps on phones. So people can really get access to it. Even traditional banks like Mellon are jumping into the game. So it's much easier to get their hands on. So that brings about another point as well. I think it's point number 4 or 5 at this stage, is Metcalfe's law. So Metcalfe's law states that the power of a network is a function of how many users. And the funny thing is about Bitcoin is the bigger it's getting, the more users it's getting. So for example, once it hit $1 trillion market cap, then all of a sudden Wall Street says, ooh, this is a real asset. We need to get some. After that, people say, looking at some of the Metcalfe's models, the valuation of Bitcoin could go as far as $300,000 a coin if the number of users continues on this trajectory. Point number 6, I think rising popularity of people seeking freedom. I think the C-19 situation has made people become very pent up and frustrated, and they really want to change. They don't want to go back to their normal lives. They want to do something different. And I'm in that boat as well. In fact, that's one of the reasons I'm here, is because of this whole C-19 pandemic. So every cloud has a silver lining. I think point number 7, there are huge deficits that far exceed GDP, which is going to cause a lot of problems. And of course, there's some structural risk within the financial systems we have. So net supercycle, I don't think so. I do think all roads lead to Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin's going to have a great year. I think we're going to reach a top. I don't know what that top is going to be, if it's going to be 100,000 or 208,000 or all the way up to 300,000. But some of the silly numbers out there like 500,000 and $1 million is not going to happen this year. No way. But I think we could very easily reach $100,000, as we already reached 58,000. So going to 100 is not a big stretch from there. So that's my take. Supercycle, no. But broader adoption, yes. Metcalfe's law, yes. Inflation problems, yes. All roads lead to Bitcoin. Thank you for your question, Tyler. So the second question is from Topidop. And their concern is, let me read this correctly, should we be worried if a Bitcoin whale may one day sell off abruptly, sell a whole bunch of Bitcoins? Well, those type of whale dumping, big pool dumping, big mining pool dumping, that's already happened. And I firmly believe that large whales and large pools are in cahoots together, and they're orchestrating these large dumps to be able to shake out the weak hands. So what I mean by that is they come together, they take a big bunch of Bitcoin, whether it's 10,000 coins or 5,000 coins, and they dump it all at once when the market's not expecting it, or when there's a whole bunch of investors that are speculating on Bitcoin and they're in a vulnerable position, and then they dump, and that forces liquidation of these investors, and that liquidation drives the price down. And I think these whales and these pools jump back in and buy it back at a lower price. So that's kind of my theory. Just think in terms of where we are today. So I do not see Bitcoin prices falling below 45 to 42,000. 42,000 is the actual floor. I think we're very close to 45,000 right now as I'm recording this. And also remember the money that's coming in, the institutional money. You know, firms like BlackRock are coming in. They have $8 trillion under management. If they just put 1% in, that's $80 billion. And $80 billion will increase the price of Bitcoin by $40,000 at least in a very short order. So net, yes, there will be that continued manipulation. Don't sell out. Don't let them take your Bitcoin away if you have any. Just stay strong as long as you can. Okay? And hold out for the 6-digit numbers that are coming. So next question is from, let me get this right, Angelo Pecoraro. How do I envision Bitcoin going mainstream? And with prices fluctuating, how much do you think it has a way of weaving itself into the current systems? This is a great question. A lot of people say, oh, Bitcoin is too volatile. It can never be used as a source of payment. But I would debate that. So the way I see the world is, first of all, it is already working its way into its financial system. I'll give you a couple of examples. First of all, you got PayPal. PayPal now allow people to buy crypto, and they have, I think, 28 million merchants and over 300 million customers over 200 countries. And they're on the cusp of turning that on to allow their customers pay with crypto, so that if you want to buy something, say you're in the US and you want to buy a pair of glasses from somebody on eBay in Germany, you can do that. And that person in Germany will receive euros in exchange. And PayPal will orchestrate that conversion of your crypto, whether it's Ethereum or Bitcoin, into fiat, so your German seller can get paid. And this exact same scenario will happen. And there'll come a time as well where sellers will actually want to get paid in crypto. Now, Square is doing the exact same thing. Square are facilitating easy on-ramps for people to buy Bitcoin, but they're also now enabling their vendors, their sellers, to deal with currency as well. So it's all happening at a very fast pace. And in addition, you've got all these new AFTs hitting the market, and a bunch of institutional investors and everybody else. Those people are buying Bitcoin not to speculate like the retail investors of the past, but they're buying it to hold it. And all of this acquisition will make it much more stable as we go forward in the future. So net, I think stability is there. Crypto has already weaved itself into financial payment systems. I just gave you 2 examples, and there are many more. And it's happening all over the world. So as I always say, there's no putting the toothpaste back in the tube. It's out. It's everywhere. And we're going to see massive wide-scale adoption over the next 12 to 24 months all over the world. It's already happening. So third question was from Michael Gallob. I wonder how you see the chance this market might switch to smart contracts blockchain, and any idea for a timeline? Very good question. So I do believe blockchain, smart contracts are the future. There's a couple of things I'd like to say. One, it's already happening. There are teams all over the world that are finding ways of leveraging blockchain to solve very hard problems. So for example, think organ donation. Think census, like the US Census, where they need to map out where people are. Think of employment verification. So I think smart contracts are already being heavily used in the NFT space as well, as we've seen in my previous video. It's not the future, it's already here. Now, in terms of what's really exciting about this whole thing is smart contracts, they're not necessarily like a contract to buy a home or something, but they have 3 things. They have the ability to store rules, they have the ability to verify rules, and the ability to execute rules. And they're amazing at facilitating trust and openness and transparency. And I think things like home buying, doing things like short-term leasing or Airbnbs will all be handled using these smart contracts. Again, in the next 12 to 24 months, like a lot of change is going to happen. It's going to be very disruptive to a lot of traditional services, a lot of traditional banks and everything else. So great question. Thank you so much, Michael Gallob, for that question. 5th question is from Steve Powell. I'd love your thoughts on Cardano ADA. So Steve, great question. Only a few days ago, I did a very detailed comparison of ADA with the backdrop of Ethereum, ran through all the pros and cons. I looked at the developers, the networks, the partnerships, the scalability, the costs, the infrastructure. and I even weaved in some pricing models. And basically, my conclusion is, while the risk of Cardano, I believe, is higher than Ethereum, I believe they have a shot at basically taking some market share away from Ethereum. However, I also believe that the first mover advantage for Ethereum is extremely large and very important. And there's some new releases coming, both between the Merry hard fork for Cardano and some EIP improvements for Ethereum that are going to hit in March. And that'll be very telling. So let me circle back with you then and see exactly what happens. But if some of the stuff that I read is true about the new scalability and Ethereum solving the gas fees problems, that will put Cardano behind the 8 ball once again, and it could be very impactful. So I hope that answers your question. Check out that video if you haven't already, and it's in my list. So the fun question of the week is from Avery Nitkon. Is it, did you ever take an interest in poker, as you tend to enjoy being with people who are analytical? So this question is a very interesting one. I'll take you back to the late 90s. I was extremely addicted to online poker. I played a lot. I used to have a setup at home with 4 different computers, and I'd play 2 tables in every computer at the same time. So I'd be playing 8 tables at any given time, which is extremely bad. And I used to do it many hours and do it late into the night and nonstop. And I was very successful. I created a whole bunch of rules and methods and betting strategies, and which hands I would play, which ones I would fold on immediately, how I would bet, and how those types of things. And it was a very trying time. And then I thought, because I was able to win with online poker, I thought, hey, I can do anything. Now I'm going to go play with the professionals in real casinos face to face at these tournaments. And I discovered something the hard way. So although I had a system and I knew how to play, with poker against professionals, I didn't have one thing, and that's a poker face. So if I got a pair of kings, my competition could read it in my face. So I was not successful at tournament poker, but I was very successful in online poker. But I stopped because it started getting very addictive and got back to my roots again. So excellent question. Hope I'm not sharing too much. I want to thank everybody for all the questions this week. As usual, we do this every single week, and we do it outdoors. So thank you for tuning in. Watch the spammers in the comments, and please make suggestions. And if you like the content, hit like. And thank you again. Bye.